My name is Reverend Heng. I'm here interviewing Bishop John Wester, the Roman Catholic Bishop of Salt Lake City. And the occasion for this event is the ninth convening of the Chan Zen Catholic Buddhist Dialogue that is here in the Bay Area. And this is as I say, the ninth gathering of this particular group, with many of the same faces returning year after year, including Bishop John. So the Dharma Buddhist University invited me to take advantage of his presence here to have a conversation about the ongoing dialogue. And so I'd like to start with the question: why is interfaith dialogue important?
Well, thank you, Reverend Heng, and thank you for inviting me to be part of this. And let me just say, if I may, to begin, what an honor it is to be with you. And I count you as a dear friend, and it's good to be back with you. So for me, it's important just to see you again.
Nice.
And to see all our other friends. I think this dialogue is important because I think that all of us are on a journey, and in our tradition, we would say a journey of faith. And that we can learn, and that learning helps us each in our own tradition, in our own faith, and our own practice to deepen. And so in the 9 or so years I've been part of this dialogue, I know that it's been a very helpful dialogue to be inspired by people of faith, Buddhists and Catholics alike, and also to learn how they have dealt with their struggles, with their difficulties in life, and how they have passed through them. You would say, I suppose you could say, been enlightened through them, and it's helped to enlighten me. I think too, sadly, in our world today, there are a lot of misunderstandings between religions. And in some cases, tragically, it can lead to war and violence. And the more we understand each other, then I think the better we can live together in peace, and the more we can do things together for the common good. And as a matter of fact, I know that we've been privileged and honored to help Alan in some of his social work, in his outreach work, and I know that many of our Buddhist brothers and sisters have helped us and our work, supporting us in some of our works for the common good.
That would be Alan Senaki with the Buddhist
exactly.
Peace Fellowship. Yes.
Buddhist Peace Fellowship. And I'm in Salt Lake City now, but I still get his emails, and it's a way of staying connected and seeing what he's doing. And so I think that these are just examples of how coming together like this is always a good thing for people of faith, people of goodwill, people who care about each other to discuss our various traditions and to learn from one another.
I appreciate that answer. I have had the privilege of knowing you for years, first as the Auxiliary Bishop of San Francisco.
That's right, yeah.
And we have a mutual friend in Father P. Gerard O'Rourke, who was the Interfaith and Ecumenical Outreach Officer for the Diocese of San Francisco, and also part of the United Religions Initiative, where I first met Father Jerry. And he invited me to come to your ordination at St. Mary's Cathedral. That was that 2000 or
1998?
1998.
Yeah.
And it meant a great deal for me to be a witness to that moment, that transition from priest to auxiliary bishop. And I was amazed to discover this is a very sacred ritual. There's a genuine transformation that occurs. There were cardinals on the dais. There's laying on of hands. There's silence. It involves your making a full prostration on the ground, and as a gesture of humility. Is that correct? Or
it is humility and just completely subservient to the will of God.
Yes. And then, much to my surprise and amazement, there was an anointing of the crown with oil.
Right.
And why amazed? Because in the Buddhist literature, there's a description of when a level of devas, these are beings who dwell in the heavens, ascend to a position of royalty, they receive anointment on the crown. And so I thought, my goodness, here's another element of the conversation.
Right, right.
So there's people reported, this is our 9th gathering, and people reported the first night as we came together that when they are announcing to their community or to people that they meet or their neighbors that they're going to a Buddhist Catholic dialogue, often the response is, well, what do you all have to talk about? It's this kind of amazement. And as I travel around the world to do interfaith, and I report that the same group of people have found it significant enough to return for 9 years to continue our conversation, people consider that good news by and large. It's just unexpected joy that two of the world's major religions can find so much in common and also are willing to bring out the differences and put them on the table and say, long live the differences, let's talk about what we have to share.
Precisely, and I think that was brought up today beautifully by one of our members, Father Jim Fredericks, that we can be united and different at the same time, unity and diversity, and nobody is trying to push an agenda. We're simply adopting a very open posture to listen and to learn and to support one another. And I think that the friendships that have evolved, as you suggest, over these 9 years have been really quite significant.
If I were then to encapsulate that in a question, we have a topic this year, as we do every time we come together, a different topic. And our topic this year is conversation/conversion. Exploring the issues involved in both. Mm-hmm. How do Buddhists convert? Do they hope to convert others to Buddhism? Mm-hmm. Is there Buddhist proselytization, etc.? How do the Catholics see conversation with the other? Mm-hmm. How is this? Are there teachings in the Gospels about others and how one should meet, or in the Old Testament as well? So, if I were to ask you, from your perspective, what is the difference between conversation and conversion? What would your response be?
Well, it's a wonderful question, and it's one that would take a long time, as evidenced by our dialogue. We're going on at great lengths, and as you know, and your wonderful talk this morning, which is so rich and unpacking and developing those themes. But let me just say this, briefly, that for me, from my perspective and a Catholic perspective, I think that the conversation is something that leads up to conversion. The conversation is something that makes possible conversion, if that's what's going to be. In other words, I think the conversation is something freely given and freely received, mm-hmm. in our case among friends. Mm-hmm. And then there can and often is conversion on various levels. I would say for us, the most common experience is a conversion to new life, each in our own tradition. I've heard it said again and again and again. My Buddhist brothers and sisters will say, I'm going to go home renewed in my Buddhism, in my practice. And I've heard Catholics say, and I have said, I'm going to go home renewed in my Catholicism. And so I think that's a conversion, and much like the enlightenment that we speak of, Mm-hmm. So, and certainly in the cases, in some people, there will be conversions. But I think, to me, it's good to put conversion in tandem with conversation, which is far different than proselytizing. Mm-hmm. Proselytizing, to me, is an aggressive kind of willed agenda where you're really making a conscious effort to bring somebody into the faith. Mm. But I think conversation implies more that you're opening up the heart, you're opening up the mind, and sitting and talking and conversing. And then we would say in our language, let the spirit move in that and see what happens. Right. But not for us to be willful, not for us to be, but rather to be representing each our own faith, our own belief, our own tradition, to be proud of it, to represent it, to celebrate it, and then you see what happens.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that answer. We're here at the City of 10,000 Buddhas, which is the third time out of the 9 years that we've met here, mm-hmm. and it was the founder, Master Shenhua, our late founder, who established the city of 10,000 Buddhas as a center for investigation of religious principle, certainly not the property of Buddhists, and that we guard the door and keep everyone else out. In fact, it was here that I grew up Methodist before I became a Buddhist 38 years ago. And I didn't have an opportunity as a Methodist to attend a Catholic Mass until, as a Buddhist monk at the city of 10,000 Buddhas, at the invitation of Master Hsien Hua, I took part in the Mass with the late Father Thomas Heng, who was one of the founding members of our circle, who's now passed on. And you say that he is, what's the
gone before us, marked with the sign of faith.
Gone before us, marked with the sign of faith. So he was a seminal figure in the Bay Area in introducing Catholics to contemplation, for example, and other disciplines. So the Master Hsien Hua's vision was that when people investigate principle together, there is goodness. And certainly at Buddhists, as we are in Asia, have been around for 2.5 millennia, but in the West we're brand new. And Roman Catholicism has been the dominant religion in Europe and worldwide. There's 1 billion+ Catholics, and as I understand, worldwide. And for a Catholic bishop to be able to say that there is goodness and a reaffirmation of one's own tradition in meeting the other, I think this is probably fresh for many Catholics who know nothing about Buddhism and have no daily compelling reason to care why talking with a Buddhist would be of any value. So that launches my third question, which is professionally or personally, what would you say is the gain of for two religions to come together in dialogue more than once even?
Well, I think that, yes, on both those levels, thank you for, by the way, for your input too, and I appreciate that very much. And I think that professionally and personally, I would say one of the goods that is attained, if you will, is the fact that, as I've already alluded to, it reinforces, I think, a lot of the good in each of our traditions for the respective members. And I think that it also helps to clarify, because as we try to explain to the other, for example, we learn right away, wow, language is really limited. How do I explain this truth, this reality of Catholicism, or in your case of Buddhism? And we even use it was used today several times. If we can't, I think Father Frederick said, if you can't put it a definition, can you tell a story that might get at the truth? And that itself implies that it's not an easy thing to do. So I think one of the gains, if you will, as you ask, is just to help. I know I can say it's true for me, and I believe it's true for all of us, is that, you know, it's helped me to clarify, to think deeper, to reason again, and to go over, to muse, to mull over, and to chew, you know. So that's a very good thing to do. And it's an environment, a very trusting and respectful environment, where I know the Buddhists respect the Catholics and the Catholics respect the Buddhists, and we respect the traditions and we respect the truths that we hold. And so I think that's, and I think also it's very beneficial to go away from our dialogues and to say, I've been so enriched by knowing these wonderful people, that, you know, despite all the things you read about in the paper and all the bad news, this is good news. And that we've come together, these are wonderful people doing wonderful things, and living their faith, living their practice, bringing good to the world. It just makes me feel optimistic, and it makes me feel hopeful, and I think that's been a good thing as well. I think too that we've come together, and I believe that our shared sitting together, for example, our shared prayer together, our shared being together, and sitting quietly does good for the world. It's a positive force in the world, and that I really believe that, as we would say, the Spirit is working in that, and that there's so I think those are just some of the personal and I would say, on a religious level, some of the real gains that we've experienced.
Well, to every afternoon of our gatherings, we celebrate the Catholic Mass and the Eucharist, and I know that the energy the good energy that generates resonates here at the City of 10,000 Buddhas, and I think throughout the world. And I've had the privilege of sitting beside you in meditation,
yes.
and I know that Catholic contemplation has a long tradition, and that we could mutually encourage each other to investigate this stillness is a great joy. And certainly the world benefits when we slow down and look deeply inside. Well, let me say, just representing the City of 10,000 Buddhas, is my opportunity to do that thank you for your support over the years to this gathering, and the leadership that you show in bringing the two religions into conversation and into the relationship. And it is indeed the relationships that are the real reward. And so I would like to extend my personal blessing and support for all of the incredible good work that you do. Being a Catholic bishop in Salt Lake City certainly must have its own challenges there.
Well, it's a wonderful, rich experience.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. And thank you, Reverend Heng. Thank you so much for your friendship and for all that I've learned from you and with you. And I want to thank you for the leadership you have shown in these dialogues. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I thank you in the City of 10,000 Buddhas. I'll never forget the first time I was here, I think 2003. And the abbot was so extremely hospitable. And I'll never forget, he went to the great length of, it was later at night, dark, cold, and he accompanied me all the way to my lodging. And he was afraid, being dark, and I was unfamiliar. He wanted me to get there safely, and I didn't want to. I was so honored that he would do that, but he would hear none of it. He said, "No, I'm going to do it," and he walked me. And I'll never forget that experience. It really touched me deeply.
Wonderful. All right. Well, blessings.
Thank you. Thank you.